Have you ever noticed how your priorities begin to shift as you get older? The things that once felt so important, like keeping a busy social calendar or staying connected with a large group of friends, might not hold the same value anymore. After 70, many people start to realize something truly freeing. You don't actually need a lot of friends to feel fulfilled. In fact, letting go of certain social expectations can bring more peace, clarity, and joy than you ever imagined. This isn't about isolation, it's about choosing a life that's simpler, more meaningful, and entirely your own. In this video, we're going to explore 7 powerful reasons why having fewer friends after 70 might be one of the best gifts you can give yourself. If you've ever felt this shift in your own life, let us know in the comments. Just type yes if this speaks to you. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you won't miss more inspiring content like this. 1. You no longer need to prove yourself to anyone. One of the most liberating truths about life after 70 is this: you no longer have to prove anything to anyone. In your younger years, friendships often revolved around fitting in, being liked, or gaining approval. Whether it was impressing coworkers, attending social events, or staying in the loop, there was always that subtle pressure to be seen, accepted, and validated. But once you've lived through decades of experiences, raising a family, building a career, overcoming hardships, you reach a place where external validation simply doesn't matter anymore. You already know who you are. You've earned your wisdom, your values, and your peace. At this stage in life, the opinions of others don't carry the same weight they once did. Take a moment to reflect. How many friendships were built on convenience rather than true connection? How many people were in your life simply because you shared a workplace or a hobby or a routine? And once those routines faded through retirement or lifestyle changes, so did the friendships. That's not a loss. It's a natural shift. Consider someone like Harold, a man in his early 70s. He spent decades in the corporate world, constantly surrounded by people. But when he retired, most of those friendships disappeared. At first, he felt the need to keep them going, but eventually he asked himself, why am I chasing relationships that were never truly meaningful? That question changed everything. He stopped seeking approval and started living for himself. That's the beauty of this phase of life. You don't need a crowd to feel important. You don't need constant interaction to feel worthy. You already are. When you let go of the need to be validated by others, you gain something much more powerful: self-respect, inner peace, and the freedom to just be. 2. Peace becomes more valuable than socializing. As you grow older, something profound begins to happen. Peace starts to matter more than people-pleasing. In your younger years, being social might have felt like a necessity. You filled your days with lunches, gatherings, phone calls, and small talk. It was all part of staying connected, of being seen and heard. But with time, you realize that not all interaction equals connection, and not all noise is worth your energy. After 70, the desire for deep, meaningful peace often outweighs the need for constant company. And that kind of peace isn't found in crowded rooms or endless conversations. It's found in the quiet of your home, in the slow walk through nature, in a book you finally have time to read, or simply in the silence that lets your thoughts breathe. Look at Margaret, 74, who once thrived in a large circle of friends. Her calendar was always full, but over time she noticed something. Those social events began to feel like chores. The conversations felt repetitive, the energy draining. Some friends only called to gossip or complain. One day, she simply stopped forcing it. She started saying no without guilt, and what followed was unexpected. Peace. She reclaimed her time. She embraced stillness. And she discovered that solitude didn't mean loneliness. It meant freedom. At this stage in life, you don't have to explain your choices, answer every call, or meet every invitation. You get to choose calm over chaos, simplicity over noise. Peace, once a luxury, becomes a priority. And when you finally give yourself permission to seek it, everything else begins to fall into place. 3. Fewer friendships mean fewer disappointments. One of the hardest lessons in life is realizing that not everyone who calls themselves your friend truly stands by you. Over the years, you've probably experienced it. People who disappear when you need them most, relationships that feel one-sided, and connections that quietly fade without explanation. By the time you reach 70, these patterns become familiar. And more importantly, you begin to understand that having fewer friends also means fewer disappointments. Friendships, like any relationship, come with expectations. There's the unspoken rule of calling back, checking in, remembering birthdays, offering support. But what happens when those expectations aren't met? You feel hurt. You wonder if you mattered at all. And at this point in life, do you really need that kind of emotional strain? Take William, for example. At 78, he had spent years maintaining friendships that slowly turned into obligations. He was always the one reaching out, always the one making the effort. Eventually, he realized it wasn't that he had changed, it was that he had stopped accepting relationships that weren't mutual. When you let go of the need to hold on to every friendship, you also release yourself from the pain of unmet expectations. You stop feeling guilty when someone fades away. You stop wondering what you did wrong. And instead, you start focusing on the relationships that truly matter, the ones that feel natural, kind, and effortless. This shift isn't about isolation. It's about choosing quality over quantity. At this stage, peace and authenticity are worth far more than polite conversations and shallow ties. You deserve connections that uplift you, not ones that slowly wear you down. You're still here, aren't you? That tells me something in these words is landing with you, and I'm truly glad you're with us. If this message is resonating so far, drop a quick comment below. Maybe just "still here," or let us know which part speaks to you most. It's amazing how a few words can remind someone else that they're not alone. And if you haven't yet, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you never miss these quiet, honest reflections. Now, let's keep going. 4. Your time becomes more precious. As the years go by, one truth becomes clearer than ever. Your time is the most valuable thing you have. In your younger days, time often felt abundant. There was always another weekend, another phone call to return, another social event to attend. But once you pass 70, your perspective changes. You begin to see every moment as sacred. And you realize that not every friendship deserves a piece of your precious time. Friendships, even the good ones, take effort. There are calls to make, visits to schedule, birthdays to remember, and sometimes emotional burdens to carry. And while some connections are absolutely worth that effort, many are simply remnants of old routines. Relationships kept alive more out of habit than true joy. Consider Richard, now in his early 80s. For decades, he lived a very social life: dinner parties, coffee dates, and long phone calls. But one day, after sitting through yet another lunch filled with small talk and complaints, he asked himself, "Is this really how I want to spend the rest of my time?" The answer was no. So, he made a shift. He stopped saying yes out of politeness and started saying no with intention. He let go of the friendships that drained him, and instead he filled his days with the things that brought him peace. Walks in the park, quiet mornings with a book, learning something new just for fun. That's the freedom you've earned. You don't owe your time to anyone, not out of guilt, routine, or expectation. Every hour is a gift, and choosing to spend it in ways that nourish your soul is not selfish. It's wise. At this stage in life, your time belongs to you, and you have every right to protect it. 5. True companionship comes from within. One of the greatest myths about aging is the idea that you need a large circle of friends to be happy. But as you grow older, you begin to see the truth. The most meaningful companionship you will ever experience is the one you have with yourself. Throughout life, we're taught that being alone is something to fear, that solitude equals loneliness. So we fill our schedules, surround ourselves with people, and avoid quiet moments. But after 70, you start to realize that being alone doesn't have to mean being lonely. In fact, solitude can be one of the most enriching experiences of all. Take Eleanor, for example. At 76, she had spent years staying socially active. Calls, meetups, errands with friends. But she often came home feeling tired, not fulfilled. Slowly, she began to notice a pattern. Many of her friendships were built on routine, not real connection. She was constantly adjusting who she was to keep the peace, to fit in, to avoid being left out. Then she made a change. She began treating herself like a cherished friend, doing what she loved, listening to her thoughts, going to cafes with a book instead of with someone to please. And with time, she felt something she hadn't in years: peace. When you become your own companion, you stop needing others to fill emotional gaps. You begin to enjoy your own company. You rediscover your own voice. And interestingly, that's when the most authentic relationships often find their way into your life, ones that require no performance, only presence. You don't have to chase connection to feel complete. You are already whole. And when you embrace that truth, your days become lighter, freer, and filled with quiet joy. 6. Letting go opens the door to a more fulfilling life. There's something profoundly freeing about letting go, especially when it comes to friendships that no longer bring joy. After 70, one of the most powerful things you can do for yourself is to release the pressure to maintain relationships that feel more like routines than real connections. So many people hold on out of habit. They answer calls out of guilt. They attend gatherings just because they always have. But what if you didn't have to? What if you gave yourself permission to let go? That's exactly what James did. At 77, his days were packed with social events and check-ins. On the surface, he seemed engaged and active. But deep down, he felt tired, drained by conversations that lacked meaning and gatherings that felt more like obligations than joy. One afternoon, after sitting through a birthday party where no one really talked about anything real, he asked himself, "Why am I still doing this?" From that moment on, he made a change. He gently stepped away from the relationships that no longer fit the life he wanted. In their place, he created space for things that truly mattered. Long walks, time in nature, new hobbies, quiet mornings. And slowly, he discovered something unexpected. He wasn't missing out. He was finally tuning in to what made him feel alive. Letting go doesn't mean shutting the world out. It means choosing peace over pressure, meaning over maintenance. It's recognizing that fulfillment comes not from how many people are around you, but from how true you are to yourself. And the moment you release the weight of forced friendships, you make room for something far more beautiful. A life that actually feels like your own. 7. You attract better relationships when you stop chasing them. One of the quiet miracles of growing older is discovering that when you stop chasing people, the right people start to show up naturally. After 70, there's a shift in energy. When you stop trying so hard to maintain every friendship, you begin to attract relationships that are truly aligned with who you are today. In earlier years, we often form friendships based on proximity, workplaces, neighborhoods, shared routines. But as life changes, so do we. The person you are at 70 is wiser, calmer, and more selective than the person you were at 30 or 40. And that's a good thing. When you no longer feel the need to be liked by everyone, you start making room for something more meaningful. Authentic connection. You find joy in the rare conversations that don't drain you. You begin to value people who respect your space, honor your silence, and understand your rhythm. Think of it like a garden. When you stop overwatering the weeds, those shallow, one-sided relationships, you give the true flowers a chance to bloom. You make room for quality, not quantity. That's exactly what happened to Clara, age 75. When she stopped trying to keep up with people who never checked in on her, she found a new sense of calm. And in that stillness, she met a neighbor who shared her love for painting, and a book club that felt like home. None of it was forced. It simply flowed. That's the gift of this stage in life. You no longer need to chase belonging. You already belong to yourself. And from that grounded place, the right people will find you. Not because you need them, but because they add joy to a life that's already whole. Reaching 70 isn't the end of connection. It's the beginning of something more honest, more peaceful, and more deeply fulfilling. You no longer need to prove yourself, please everyone, or hold on to friendships out of habit. Instead, you get to choose. Choose solitude without loneliness, peace over pressure, and authenticity over obligation. Letting go of friendships that no longer serve you doesn't mean closing your heart. It means opening your life to what truly matters: your well-being, your passions, and the rare, beautiful connections that flow effortlessly. So as you move through this chapter of life, give yourself permission to simplify, to breathe, to embrace the stillness and the freedom that comes with it. Because sometimes the best company you'll ever find is already right there, within you. Now that you've heard all 7 reasons, we'd love to know, which one resonated with you the most? Have you experienced any of these shifts in your own life? Leave a comment below and share your thoughts with us. Even just a few words like, "This is exactly how I feel," can make someone else feel seen. And if you found this message meaningful, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and turn on the bell icon so you won't miss future content designed to inspire and support you. Your voice matters. Your journey matters. And by sharing your experience, you might just help someone else find peace in theirs.